There's no escaping death. Having a will help you decide how you want your assets to be distributed after your death. Your will should state exactly who gets what. This will prevent conflict. But just what can go wrong if you die without a will?
If you die without one, you obviously die without telling everyone else what you want to have happen with your assets and your estate. In that case, the state has promulgated an Act of Parliament which decides, in which is written what will happen to your things. So the state decides, and it's usually common sense. If you are married without children, your spouse gets everything. If you have children but no wife or husband, then your children get everything. And so it decides in the percentages who gets your stuff. So even if you don't have a will, generally the correct thing happens, but it's not necessarily the case.
Experts say that you should consider having a trust to ensure that your beneficiaries are protected, especially if they are minors.
Guardians of children do have contractual capacity to be able to access funds that have been placed into a bank account for the child. And if there's no supervision, it's very possible that there's going to be a loss of funds and the children don't really get to inherit what you intended for them to. Hence, it's really important that when you're drafting your will and part of your estate planning process, talk to the professional about what's going to happen if I die, who's going to take care of the children, and we are placing these assets, these investments into a trust which will then provide the income to the guardian, and the children can then be educated, have their upbringing, and when they turn to a certain age, 25, 27, 30, they can then inherit the assets and the trust can be closed down.
A lawyer dealing with estate planning can help you draft a will according to your own specifications, and you can pay anything from 1,000 rand to draft a will depending on the size of your estate. You can also draft your own will, but make sure that it meets all the legal obligations. Your beneficiaries cannot sign as your witnesses on your will. You need to get your will certified at a police station.
The first is to go onto the internet and look for examples, or look in a book, or copy somebody else's will. This is obviously risky because you don't know the law and you could make a mistake. And against somebody, your person that you want to give your stuff to doesn't get it in the end. There's a few other ways as well. Most banks offer free wills to their customers, or for a relatively small fee. The Law Society offers Wills Week in September of every year.
You will pay 20% for estate duty if the value of your estate exceeds 3.5 million rand. But if your spouse is the only beneficiary of your estate, you will not be required to pay an estate duty.
By not being clear, you run the risk of paying unnecessary estate duties, taxes, capital gains taxes, etc. So it is very important for you to be very clear on who you want your assets to go to, and be clear in terms of what your estate plan is.
Dying without a will means that the Master of the High Court will appoint an executor to wind down your estate, and this could take up to a year to finalize. This means that your dependents' financial needs will not be met. Naledi Matlapeng, SABC News, Johannesburg.